Very good afternoon to
all of you. At the outset, I would like to congratulate Mr. Sunil Madhya for organizing such an excellent event
for the World Non-Ferrous Metals Conference. I would like to congratulate him for inviting so many notable personalities from across the various industries as well as government. I would look forward to many such conferences in the future, which gives an opportunity for the various people in the primary as well as the secondary markets to meet each other and exchange ideas. I have listened with interest with the various presentations which were done, and I note the various. I note with with a lot of enthusiasm the kind of confidence which is placed in the Indian market, and I fully agree that the Indian market is really poised to take off in the copper. I'm talking about the copper segment because I represent the copper business in Vedanta. If I just take you through the overall industry from an industry perspective, the overall demand, overall supply of copper, the total installed capacity of copper in India for primary copper is a shade below 1 million tons per annum. The major players are, of course, Hindalco, then that is us, there is Vedanta, then Hindustan Copper, the public sector unit. And the total demand for primary copper in India is currently a little above 650,000 tons per annum. And so if you see, the domestic manufacturer are fully capable in terms of the capacity to feed the domestic demand of 650,000 tons per annum. And this demand, though about 3 years ago it was mostly flat at roughly around 1 to 2% per annum, over the last 2 years it has really burgeoned. It has seen a huge demand increase of roughly about 10 to 12% per annum. And we are very, very bullish, and given the kind of impetus that the government is giving for manufacturing and opened up various sectors like defense, etc. And a lot of renewable energy is also planned. So we have absolutely no doubt that the demand for copper in India is going to be at a very high level. As you know, copper is also called Dr. Copper because basically it is a bellwether for the status of the industry, for the growth of the industry. It shows the status of how well the economy is doing. And the growth of copper is very, very much linked to the GDP. So we expect that definitely, as was pointed out in one of the presentations, roughly about 7% per annum. So definitely I'm sure that that is the long-term growth which will definitely that we will see, and probably in the short term much more growth. So talking about the growth of copper demand in India, as I was saying, that the domestic industry is fully capable of fulfilling the demand in India of 650,000. What we see here is an anomaly. On the one hand, we have imports which are coming in, partly due to FTAs, partly due to other reasons. So imports are roughly coming in around 1/3 of the total demand. So I think last year it was just a shade above 200,000. This year probably the total imports will be 250,000 tons per annum. And imports from FTAs, through FTAs have been roughly about 50 to 60,000 tons per annum. And then we have imports from other countries like Russia and Middle East, and of course there are imports from IT sector imports, which come in at concessional duty. So all these put together about 200,000 last year, this year about 250,000. And on the other hand, we also are exporting copper. Both Hindalco and us, both of us export roughly about 50% of our production. So roughly around, say maybe over 350,000 tons per annum of copper is exported. And we are exporting roughly around $2 billion per annum of exports. So this is a huge anomaly that we see here. And our primary goal is to meet the domestic demand. Like for example, every month we fulfill the entire domestic demand and then only talk about exporting. So the domestic market is our primary market. So this is something which we have brought to the notice of the government.
Because as in the previous presentation also we were talking about inverted duty. So here definitely there is a case of inverted duty whereby we are importing the copper concentrate at 2.5% duty, whereas in the FTAs we have the duties which are going to be 0% from ASEAN from January 2017 onwards. And from Japan also it is on a reduction trend.
So there is this case of inverted duties, which we have to address, which is something, which we have been trying to bring the focus of the government, so that, we don't have the issue. I think we should make use of this Make in India impetus, so that, there's a sort of an anomaly out there. On the one hand, we have the government talking about Make in India, but on the other hand, of course, we have FTAs. Of course, I'm not saying that the government definitely has a pressure of making the world
totally flat. And in terms of competitiveness, definitely the domestic industry is doing its utmost in benchmarking with the world's best smelters, the world's best copper rod producers, in order to produce the best quality at the best price. So that is something which we continuously do on a continuous basis. And
it is the primary copper producers associations promise that definitely in terms of quality, in terms of quantity, in terms of the cost competitiveness, definitely I think we'll strive to be the world's best. So these are the issues that the domestic copper industry is facing right now. Also, I think please keep in mind that in comparison to the smelters abroad, we have a number of disadvantages. For example, in terms of working capital finance, this industry is hugely dependent on working capital. We have working capital demands of roughly around nearly about 10 to 15,000 crores, which we need, for the import of the copper concentrate. So this is a huge amount that needs to be serviced at the kind of interest rates that we have here domestically versus the interest rates that are prevailing for the smelters abroad. Like for example, Japanese smelters are probably getting it at negative interest. And the other thing is that a lot of these smelters abroad have tie-ups with various mines from where they get preferential treatment for sourcing. So that is another disadvantage. The one more disadvantage is that the freight to India, we have to pay a freight differential vis-a-vis the freight which is there for Japan or China. So there again, we are at a big disadvantage. So all these items put together, it results in our cost, moving up, which we have tried to counter by, making our operations much more efficient, as much efficient as possible. And I am proud to say that at least in Vedanta, I would say that we are, in terms of various parameters, we are among the top 3 smelters in the world. As we said, we keep benchmarking ourselves throughout the world. We keep sending our people to various smelters, and then we try to learn what is the best that they are doing and try to incorporate it in our own smelting business. So this is the status that we have right now. So the main issues, as I said, number one is the FTAs, which account for about 1/3 of the imports. We are also looking forward to the government, doing something on the copper concentrate, so that, we are whatever the disadvantage that we have of inverted duty is set right. And we are also looking forward to the government giving an incentive, or rather reinstating the incentive of 2%, which was there prior to March 2015. So this 2% incentive was something which was making us competitive in the world market. So this has, since 2015 been discontinued. So this is one thing, this is again one more thing that we are, representing to the government, so that, we become more and more competitive. And as you know, the China trade balance has been negative. It was roughly around, I think, 45 to 50 billion. Now this gap is increasing on a year-to-year basis. And out of the total, out of total exports to China, almost 20% is constituted by copper. So that is another reason, by which we are looking forward to some kind of support from the government. And I'm sure that our pleas will certainly be heeded and will be given the necessary, succor, so that, we come out and we are able to perform in a much better manner and compete in the world market. So thank you very much.